The Manhattan Project, the bomb that was never supposed to work, scientists gave it a 50-50 chance of igniting the entire atmosphere. They tested it anyway. When the countdown hit 0 in the New Mexico desert, some of the smartest men on Earth genuinely didn't know if they were about to end the war or end the world. By 1942, the United States had committed to one of the most ambitious, secretive, and expensive scientific undertakings in human history, a program to design and build a functioning atomic weapon before Nazi Germany could develop one first. Intelligence reports, though later revealed to have significantly overestimated Germany's actual progress, suggested Nazi scientists were actively pursuing nuclear weapons research of their own, a possibility American military leadership considered simply too catastrophic to risk losing the race over, authorizing an effort that would eventually employ over 130,000 people across secret facilities scattered throughout the country, most of whom had no idea what the project they were working on actually intended to build. The scientific challenge facing the project's leadership, including physicist Robert Oppenheimer, who was appointed to direct the weapons design laboratory at Los Alamos, New Mexico, was staggering in both its theoretical complexity and its practical scale. Nuclear fission, the physical process by which splitting atomic nuclei releases enormous amounts of energy, had only been discovered and confirmed in laboratory experiments a few years earlier, meaning the scientists tasked with building an actual functioning weapon were working from genuinely cutting-edge, incompletely understood physics, requiring them to solve fundamental engineering problems that had literally never been attempted by anyone in human history. As the project progressed toward its first actual weapons test, a disturbing theoretical question emerged among the scientific team that has remained one of the most unsettling footnotes in the entire history of nuclear weapons development. Edward Teller, one of the physicists working on the project, raised a genuine concern that the extreme temperatures generated by an atomic detonation might be sufficient to trigger a self-sustaining fusion reaction in the nitrogen atoms present in Earth's atmosphere, a chain reaction that, if it occurred, could theoretically ignite the atmosphere itself, an outcome that would not simply kill everyone present at the test, but potentially threaten the entire planet's survival. This possibility was taken seriously enough that Arthur Compton, one of the project's senior physicists, later stated that had the calculations shown even a 3 in 1 million chance of atmospheric ignition, the test would have been called off entirely, regardless of wartime pressure to proceed. A dedicated team of scientists spent considerable time and effort calculating and recalculating the theoretical probability, eventually concluding the actual risk was effectively negligible based on the specific physics involved, though the fact that this question required serious, dedicated scientific investigation at all rather than being dismissed outright reveals exactly how far into genuinely unprecedented scientific territory the project had ventured. On July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert at a site codenamed Trinity, the assembled scientific team detonated the world's first nuclear weapon. Oppenheimer himself later recalled that witnessing the explosion brought to mind a specific line from Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," a reflection that has since become one of the most quoted statements in the history of science, capturing the genuine, unprecedented moral weight the assembled scientists felt in that specific moment, having successfully created something whose full destructive implications even they were only beginning to fully comprehend. The test succeeded, definitively proving the weapon's viability and confirming, to considerable relief among the scientific team, that the atmosphere had not ignited. Less than a month later, atomic weapons were used in combat for the first time in human history, dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in early August of 1945, killing an estimated 110,000 to 210,000 people, a death toll that continued climbing for years afterward as survivors succumbed to radiation-related illnesses and directly precipitating Japan's formal surrender, bringing the Second World War to its definitive conclusion. What makes the Manhattan Project endure as one of history's most morally complicated scientific achievements isn't simply the sheer scale of destruction the weapon ultimately caused, though that destruction remains genuinely staggering and permanently controversial, but the specific documented fact that the scientists who built it proceeded with a test whose full physical consequences they could not, at the time, entirely rule out, weighing a theoretical, if statistically minimal, risk of planetary catastrophe against the practical demands of a global war, and choosing, ultimately, to proceed anyway. Oppenheimer himself, in the years following the war, became an increasingly vocal advocate for nuclear arms control and international oversight of atomic weapons, reportedly haunted by the specific moral weight of what he and his colleagues had actually built, a transformation that led directly to a formal government security hearing in 1954, during which his prior communist associations and his outspoken opposition to developing even more powerful hydrogen bombs were used to strip him of his security clearance, effectively ending his direct influence over the very weapons program he had once led. A bitter, quiet postscript to a man who had once calculated, quite literally, whether his own creation might end the world, and decided the risk was small enough to proceed. 79 years later, the specific atmospheric ignition calculations from that summer in New Mexico remain a genuinely unsettling historical footnote, a reminder that some of history's most consequential decisions were made not with absolute scientific certainty, but with careful men doing their best math, accepting a small, calculated risk, and hoping the numbers were right. If stories like this, where the smartest people in the world gambled with stakes higher than anyone before them ever had, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.